Yeah, season 6, Project Freelance. It's happening, guys. We are well underway. And by well underway, I mean this is the second episode of season 6 of Project Freelance. Welcome back. If you're new to the podcast, my name is Kay Anagonio, and I am your host here on Project Freelance. If you are a veteran listener, hey, what's up? How you doing? How's the family? How's your kids? How's your wife? Good? Good? I'm glad. Happy to hear it. Thank you guys for listening to Project Freelance. This week on the podcast, I am joined by Andy Cizek. He is a vocalist, and he does vocals full-time. That's his job. He's a freaking vocalist, man. He's in several music projects. He also does YouTube. He also does vocal lessons. He also does session work and features. He does a lot of things, and it's amazing. I don't know how the guy juggles it, but we're going to unpack it in this episode of Project Freelance. But first things first, I'm the realist. Okay, sorry. That song is stuck in my head now. But no. Okay, first things first. There are a bunch of affiliate links down in the description that I think might help you out if you are a freelancer of any sort. If you drive your own car, you know, the mileage that you drive, you can write that shit off on taxes, guys. You can get some money back. It's an expense. Your car is an expense, y'all. So if you want to start tracking your mileage, there's an app called Mile IQ. There's a link down in the description for you to download that. Use it on your smartphone. It automatically runs in the background. And when you drive your car somewhere, you can log if it was for personal. I was going to say pleasure, but for personal or for business purposes. So yeah, check out Mile IQ. There's also Mint. Mint will help you keep track of your monthly expenses. You can set goals. You can do all kinds of stuff with the Mint app. So check those out. There's also a bunch of gear down in the description, a bunch of Amazon affiliate links. I'm trying to do the Amazon affiliate thing. So yeah, if you guys like some of those links, let me know and we'll keep doing the Amazon thing. Cool. Let's get into this episode with Andy. Andy, please introduce yourself and what it is that you do to the audience.
My name is Andy Cizek, and I am a vocalist in a few bands.
Let's talk about how you got into music in the first place. Take me back to the beginning when you were a kid. What kind of music did you listen to growing up?
I think I started out with a lot of like classic rock because my dad was really into that stuff. So he was always playing like Rush and Led Zeppelin and shit like that. And it was cool for a while, but then I started getting into my own stuff, like Green Day and all the basics, My Chemical Romance and those types of bands. Breaking Benjamin was one that I was really into. Just all the like punk and hard rock typical radio bands that you'd probably expect. And then yeah, I don't know. I wanted to do it, but I was never brave enough. Until I guess my mid-teen years, probably when I was like 15, I finally started experimenting with singing and everything. And once I played my first show, I was like, this is what I want to do with my life. So yeah, that's pretty much, not a very unique story, but that's how I got into it.
When you got into your first band, tell me about that. What was the project and what did you guys do? How many shows did you play? Did you tour? What was the story?
Oh man. It was terrible. Like my first band was just me and some friends from high school, and we didn't really know what we were doing. We just wanted to like play our school talent show. So we learned a bunch of covers. I think it was like Incubus and 30 Seconds to Mars and stuff like that. And then, yeah, we played our, like, high school talent show, and we were both like, whoa, this is the shit, we've made it. And from there, I was like, let's play some real shows. I think, we started to write some actual songs, and they were all shitty. We were very new at it, but we thought we were cool at the time and we were having fun. I think we played some shows at like a local VFW hall. We did a bunch of stuff like that. Nothing major. And then, I don't know, I guess that band fizzled out and I joined another band and kind of just kept doing that through the years until I made something that I was actually proud of, which took quite a long time.
And what was that project that you were proud of?
I think WVNDER is the first band that I've been in that I can actually say this is I'm still proud of it today. I think it's good music. Everything else before, it was like, okay, I guess, but they were just stepping stones.
Yeah. So tell me about your first time ever in a vocal booth, like recording something. I love hearing about vocalists' different experiences. So tell me about yours.
I'm trying to remember the very first time. I think, oh, okay, I know what it is. It was that one of the first bands that I was in, high school band. We knew this dude who lived, in the same town, and he was into recording and just kind of an amateur audio engineer. And we all thought he was the shit, we thought he was amazing and like a professional. I mean, he was good for our age, but we went over to his house and we did a Blink 182 cover. I think it was Anthem Part 2, I want to say. But yeah, he just stuck a mic in front of me and I didn't really know what I was doing and I absolutely sucked. That cover was so bad. I swear it's still somewhere out there in the depths of the internet, but yeah, it was terrible and I was really embarrassed just to hear my own voice back. It was super nerve-wracking, but I don't know. Eventually we did it again and again more times and I became more comfortable and it wasn't so cringeworthy, but yeah, definitely that first time it was just awful.
Yeah, as a fellow vocalist, I somebody on Twitter asked me if I could do a cover of one of my first band's songs.
Oh, ew.
And so I hit up.
I would never want to do that personally.
I hit up the guitar player. I was like, you don't have, not that I want to do it because cringe, but I was like, you don't have these. And he was like, oh my God, I don't even know what to say to that.
Yeah, that would have been really brave of you to do.
Oh my God.
I try to pretend like it never happened, but
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think just hearing your own voice for the first time recorded is awful for anyone. And I was just fearful of hearing my own voice for the longest time after that. So it definitely took some getting used to.
So tell me about your first time going on tour. I want to hear that experience because everyone's first time on tour is quite the experience.
Yeah. I was 18 and I was in this easy core band, which is basically we were just trying to sound like 4 Years Strong and A Day to Remember. And yeah, they had some touring experience. I joined that band after they had already done some stuff, and we did this 2-week terribly booked tour. The promoter was just not on the ball. I mean, typical story, but dude, we played at a picnic table one time. It was horrible in somewhere in Tennessee, and no one was there. It was just 2 weeks of really shot shows and we weren't getting along at all. Another band took us out, a band called Handguns, actually.
Okay, I know Handguns. I know Jake, yeah.
Yeah. So that was my first tour. And I don't know. I mean, it was rough and dirty and we slept in some really gross places, but it was still cool to experience, and I think it toughened me up for the future because that was still the hardest tour I've ever done probably, and it was just not good. But if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't taken that step, then I probably wouldn't be doing it now. So, I'm still grateful for the experience, even though it was terrible.
So tell me about some of your next projects that you were in after you got into WVNDER, and yeah, I want to know what the other projects are that you're in currently, and how your brain can mentally split into 3 different music projects.
Sure. So WVNDER was just doing our thing. We went on a tour with this band called Makari, and I guess we just got along with those guys really well, and it was a good experience. And then they lost their singer and hit me up after that, and I was like, I'm not really sure. I've got WVNDER, and I'm pretty busy, but I really like their style, and so I just went for it. We did a single, and I was like, this is a really good fit. I got to learn to juggle these two responsibilities, and I don't know, like, music's pretty much all I do. I've dedicated like my whole life ever since I started doing it, and nowadays I get to do music for a living. I don't have to have like a 9 to 5, so that helps me partition the time that I need. So I've been with Makari for a while, and WVNDER doesn't really tour. We're more of a studio project, so that's not super taxing on my life. It doesn't take up, too much time where I don't have time for my other stuff. But I don't know. I just have a lot that I want to do artistically, and I think my voice allows for it, since I have these different skills like singing and screaming and all these different interests genre-wise. You only live once, so you might as well go for as much as you can and create as much as possible. That's the way I see it. So yeah, Monuments hit me up several months back, because they needed a fill-in vocalist for a tour. Makari wasn't doing anything at the time, and I always wanted to do the whole metal thing, so I was like, yeah, sure, whatever, let's do it. Not expecting that much of it, but it just went so well, and the chemistry was so good that I couldn't say no to joining. It was a really great opportunity, and like the Makari guys understand, I have to do what's best for me, and joining that band was part of it, but my dedication for Makari is still the same as ever, and I'm still stoked on all the music we're making. We just have to schedule stuff in advance a lot. It's kind of tricky. But yeah, those guys have 9 to 5s and stuff. They have other lives besides the band. So everyone has other obligations that we need to account for. So it's not the worst thing ever that I have this other job basically that I need to do, because everyone has another job. Mine just happens to be music and doing other bands, and the session work that I do with artists sometimes. It's a challenge to juggle it all, but I don't know, I would regret it if I didn't go for this stuff, if I didn't take these opportunities. I'm really lucky to have them in the first place, so yeah, I just do the best I can.
So you touched on it a little bit. So some of your projects tour, and some of them are just studio projects. So how do you decide you don't want to tour with this band, you just want to do studio work? How did that idea come into play in your world?
WVNDER was not a heavily touring band, but we did some tours, but usually I would have to get fill-ins for the tours because a couple of members just weren't into touring, and that was their choice, and it's totally that's fine. Not everybody wants to do that. So I didn't really have to make that decision for WVNDER. At a certain point, it was just like, let's keep making music, but let's keep the shows at a minimum, and touring's not really a goal or responsibility for the project. And I was like, that's fine. I have Makari now, and those guys want to tour all the time. So I'm always down to tour. If I can make the time for it and it makes sense, whatever project that I'm in, I'm totally down to tour. This new thing that I have with Nick Nocturnal called Termina isn't a touring project simply because it's only 2 members, and we're just writing all this stuff ourselves. So that's also, I don't have to make that decision. It's just kind of like, well, we're a 2-man studio project. We're not really going to be doing any touring, at least not anytime soon. So yeah, Monuments tours and Makari tours, and that's just because everybody involved is down for it, and it works out that way.
And then how long did it take for doing vocals to become your career? Like, how long did it take for it to start making money for you and paying your bills?
Like 10 years. Pretty much exactly 10 years, I guess. I dumped so much money into it growing up, as every musician does. Just as a teen, not really caring about making money, just trying to build something. And I think YouTube really helped a lot. Once I started putting myself out there, it started to, I started to gain some fans, which was great, and that was helping with the subscriber count and the monetization. Like, I was making a little bit of money. You know how YouTube is, like, you don't make a lot.
Yes, I know.
But it was a little bit, and it was like extra income. Yeah. So from there, it's just been a slow build. Putting music out on Spotify and stuff, and all of that is cumulative. So the more content that I put out, you know how it goes. Eventually, it starts to build on itself, and and then also just having a name for myself from doing these different projects and the YouTube stuff has given me opportunities to do session work. I get hired for stuff like that, and teaching voice lessons. That's a good source of income for me. But yeah, all of it had to start somewhere. Or I was not making anything. I was losing money, and then eventually it turned around. And now I don't make a shitload of money or anything like that, but I can pay the bills and feed myself, and that's cool. Rent is covered, and I'm grateful that I can do music to support myself. So yeah, took a long ass time, but it's still building slowly.
So back to YouTube, talk about, social media and how it has impacted your life as a vocalist and as somebody who, is now making a living off of this.
Oh yeah. Social media and the internet has been huge for me, of course. It's how Makari found out about us and me, and how Monuments found me. The Sumerian audition I did on YouTube was really helpful for me, getting myself out there. If I didn't have these platforms, then I'd just be singing by myself in my room, and no one would be listening. I mean, the whole climate of the music industry has changed, where it's absolutely necessary to have a presence online. You can't just go out there and tour anymore. But it worked for me, and I was able to adapt to that. And I owe my whole career to the internet, basically, because I was able to put myself out there and use those tools to market myself. And I think a lot of it was just I got lucky, and someone saw my video and shared it to a friend, and they shared it to a friend, and yeah. Internet is powerful. It's done so much for me.
It is a crazy place, man. And it's awesome what it's done for you, definitely. So talking about session work, how did you start doing session work? How did it feel when you were first approached to do like a feature spot on a song?
I don't actually remember what my first one was, but I do know I was super flattered, and I was like, you really want me to feature on your song? And I think I probably did it for free. It was just like a good experience and a cool opportunity, and I just wanted to be a part of it. So yeah, it started out as like a fun thing, and then slowly I would get more offers for it, and I was like, yeah, hell yeah, let's do it. And I would charge next to nothing. You know how it goes, like you slowly build up your value, and you're able to ask for more. But yeah, I mean, the first time I just did it for fun, and I was just honored to be asked, basically.
And then how did you come up with your rate? You can discuss it, or you don't have to discuss it on here, what it is specifically, but how did you find your worth, your value?
I don't really know. It was like a trial and error thing. It was kind of an experiment. Like, I started out super low. Like, I think I was asking for like $50 to do a whole song, and that was just because I didn't think I had a lot of worth yet. I hadn't really made a name for myself and built up a following in those days. So I was happy to get whatever I could. But after a while, it started, I started getting enough offers to the point where I could choose which ones to do and which ones not to do. And that's when I was like, okay, I can set my price and sort of figure this out in a way that makes sense. And a lot of it was advice from friends. Nick has helped me out a lot, Nick Nocturnal, because he does the same sort of shit. And yeah, just asking for advice from other people and a trial and error thing of how much people are willing to pay and how much I think is okay for me to ask for. Not to drop specific numbers, but now I think a good rule is that I charge a specific amount per like minute of the track. So if you want me on like a 3-minute song, it's like X amount times 3. Or it's just based on the level of involvement or maybe how much they want me to write versus how much writing they want to do themselves. And then there's the whole editing thing. Do you want me to edit? So yeah, it was just a process of trial and error, and I think your value will go up over time the more work you do and the more you get hit up for jobs. So I'm just kind of playing it by ear.
And then what real jobs, quote unquote real jobs, by the way, there's quotes around that, did you have to supplement your income while you were trying to get this to take off full time?
Oh man, I was working at a movie theater for a while as like a concessions guy for several years when I first started playing in bands. And then I was a video game tester for a bit. I worked for ZeniMax. I worked on Skyrim. Shout out to Bethesda. It was a cool job. And I was a traveling sound engineer for a while. I actually went to trade school for live sound and studio recording, just being an audio engineer. I did that at one of those old school studios to learn the fundamentals of sound. So that gave me a background that I was able to use to, I was like an audio tech for a bit too, working for a multimedia company. So eventually it was all in the vein of audio, but I found myself getting so burnt out from work that I didn't have a lot of energy or time to work on my music. So, yeah, I just made a choice to go at it really, really hard, and I set goals for myself, and I was like, this time next year, I'm going to be here, or this time next year, I'm going to be able to, like, fully pay my rent with the music, etc. But yeah, I mean, I had lots of jobs before then, and they were interesting experiences, to say the least.
Always are. Yeah, I can remember some of my first jobs before I was full-time freelancing, and it's just you got to do what you got to do to make it happen, and then once it happens, it doesn't stop. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill. Like you'll just continue to get work if you keep going out there and finding it.
Yeah. You have to stay on it, of course, but yeah, I totally agree.
Tell me, have you ever dealt with being screwed over on any jobs or on any tours? Do you have any experience in that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course. I mean, I think every musician does, especially today. Like, I would never name any names, but there's plenty of, like, not so trustworthy promoters out there who will stiff you on your guarantees at shows or, just try to pull a fast one. It's happened a lot, especially in the earlier days, where you're just a naive, impressionable artist looking for a chance. Labels tend to do the same thing. Again, not to name any names, but I've definitely had my share of feeling like I've been taken advantage of by industry people. I mean, it sucks, of course, but you got to really love it, as I'm sure you know, and just get back up and keep going and learn from it. When you do get screwed over, at least it's a lesson. You can look out for these red flags and try not to let yourself get screwed over in the future, but it still happens. I mean, it's hard. It's tough out there, and if there's anything to exploit, someone's going to exploit it. So you just have to develop a shield for that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And for tour stories, do you have a favorite tour story, like a favorite thing that happened on tour that you can share?
I always have trouble with this question because there's been a lot of cool and crazy stuff that has happened. I think just being able to tour with some of my musical idols is like, to me, that's the most amazing thing. When Makari did our first tour with Kurt Travis, I was starstruck by that because Kurt's always been a major influence for me. But that's just crazy to me. I think a general cool tour story, one of my first WVNDER tours, we didn't have any places to stay. Every single night it was just like I was posting online, does anybody have a place for like 4 well-behaved boys to stay? Like retweet and tag your friends, blah blah blah, like having no idea who these strangers were, and just we were so poor we couldn't do hotels. And this family got back to us, or this person who lived at this house with like 20 kittens, and I was so happy. I love cats, so when we got there, saw these kittens just like playing with us and cuddling, and it was super like morale boosting, and just a lot of fun. I don't know, I'll always remember that, the house of kittens, and conditions were rough on that tour, so it really cheered us all up. And yeah, I don't know, I really enjoyed it.
Have you ever done a Vans Warped Tour show?
Yeah, I did one. The very last Warped Tour, Makari did our hometown Orlando Warped Tour, and it was cool. Our set got rained out, but then the rain stopped, and everyone came back out and watched us, and it was a really great time.
Did you like grow up going to Warped Tour as well?
Yeah. I think my first Warped Tour was 2008, something like that. I was totally into like The Devil Wears Prada and In a Day to Remember, and all the classic Warped Tour bands of the time, and going to the signings and just being in that environment, that atmosphere where everyone is into this cool alternative style of music. I mean, I loved it. I was so sad to see Warped Tour go. I always had that typical dream of wanting to do the whole thing, ever since I was a teen, but the music industry is changing and you just have to roll with the punches. So I'm lucky to have done one, and that's cool with me.
Hey, maybe in a year or two, Franz will help bring it back. I mean, the guy won't shut up about it. So
I saw that. Yeah, that would be awesome. For
it
real.
would be. It would be amazing, you know. And I think if anybody can do it, he's probably the guy.
I just hope that the kids are still down. You know, we're in a different world these days, and more people are into hip hop and stuff growing up, which is cool. I think the alternative scene is typically a little older nowadays, so to entice people to come back to Warped Tour, you'd have to cater to both of those factors of young people being more into hip hop, and you know, you got to work harder to get the old crowd to come out because we're all fucking tired and stuff.
We don't want to be in the sun for 14 hours.
I hate standing. Yeah,
standing sucks.
My back hurts. Yeah, so. But I think it's possible. I think it can be done.
Yeah, I have faith that if it's not Warped Tour, it'll be something else, you know. But I think the community, the family aspect of Warped Tour is something that will never be duplicated. I had the fortune of being on one of the last tours, the full thing, and I got to see, you know, behind the scenes of how it runs, and I got to know that family, and it was like a very, very special community that they built.
Yeah, it's really amazing. A special time that we were lucky enough to be a part of.
Yeah, definitely. So what are your goals for 2020? What do you have on the horizon?
I don't know what my definite goals are, other than just to keep going and keep the momentum, and tour as much as I can. I'm really excited for all the stuff that Monuments has coming up. We got a lot of overseas stuff, and since joining the band, I've gotten to travel a lot. I've never been able to do any sort of traveling outside the U.S. besides like Canada a couple times. But with this band, I've had that opportunity, and they're happening. I'm looking forward to going to India and stuff, and all these other countries in Europe next year. So I just want to do a good job and show those people a fun time. And yeah, play as much as I can, create as much as I can, and hopefully keep working with super, super talented people. It's been a privilege so far, and I think if I just keep grinding, then it'll keep going. So I don't have like a set goal, like I want to be making this much money or be playing to this many people. I just want to keep pushing and moving up the ladder.
Hell yeah. And talk about your voice lessons. When did you start offering those? How do you go about doing that, setting it up, all that stuff?
I started a couple years back. I think people just started asking, do you teach voice lessons? And I was like, well, I don't, but I could. I've taken voice lessons from, several different talented people, and then I've picked up a lot along the way, and just my own personal unique experiences on tour and playing shows, and how I've dealt with keeping my voice in shape. I was like, I guess I have stuff to offer, basically. So yeah, I would just basically post like, hit me up on andycizek@gmail.com and let's do it. I don't know. It was a learning process for me, for sure. And the fact that I tour so much, I can't do it all the time. But when I am home and when I feel like I've got a good chunk of time in between sessions and stuff, I'll post about it and just say, hey, I'm open for lessons. And I think that has, like, maybe word of mouth and just the internet has helped me like attract more clients and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, it was the same sort of thing as the features. I would charge next to nothing at first, and after getting enough business, I was like, okay, I can sort of renegotiate this. And yeah, it's really cool. I like to see a lot of ambitious people want to learn these alternative vocal approaches, and I'm happy to pass on whatever I know. It's a cool thing being able to teach people, and whenever I can, I'm always happy to do so.
And do you have any dream features? Like, do you have anybody that you would want to bring in on a song in the industry? Do you have anybody that you want to tour with specifically, just out of curiosity?
Sure. I mean, I feel like that list is endless of bands I would be happy to tour with. Any of those metal bands that I've listened to in the past, anywhere from Prada to Veil of Maya, Between the Buried and Me, Periphery, all those bands. It would be just such a dream to tour with them, and then with Makari, we would love to do something with Dance Gavin Dance someday. They've always been a big favorite of mine, and probably always will. Feature-wise, I don't know, man. There's just so many talented, amazing artists out there. I couldn't possibly sit here and name them all off. I think if I was like shooting for the stars, it would be like Chino from Deftones or something, or Cedric from the Mars Volta, or like Tillian or whatever. I think I could probably hit up Kurt Travis and we could negotiate something, and he'd be stoked because he's a friend, and that would be sick. So that's kind of on the more realistic side of doing a vocal feature.
Hell yeah. Well, I hope you can make that happen. It would be really cool to hear something like that. What is something you know now that you wish you knew when you started?
Oh boy, there's a lot. I think... Sorry, I'm trying to think about it. Record labels, be very, very careful and wary about what you're signing and have a reliable entertainment lawyer look over that shit. It is worth your money and your time, because it's easy to just sign a deal and not really think about it because you just want a chance. But then years down the line, it's going to be affecting you pretty hard. So those choices are not to be taken lightly. I wish I could tell my young self that. And I don't know. There's a lot of lessons I've learned along the way, but it would be hard to describe. It's something that I kind of just had to live with touring and stuff and playing and the whole professionalism side to it. It's just been a slow learning experience. So there's not one thing that I can just say, I wish I had known. It's a lot of little things.
For sure. And if people want to find you on social media, if they want to reach out to you for a feature, for vocal lessons, for any questions they may have, where can they find you?
You can just email me at Andy Cizek, ANDYCIZEK, @gmail.com. That's the best way for me, because messaging me on like Instagram and Facebook, I just can't keep track. So please email me if you're interested in doing some work or whatever.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode of Project Freelance. If you enjoyed listening to Andy's story, please give this podcast a rating. Leave some feedback if you liked it, so that other people that are looking for podcasts might come across your feedback, and give this podcast a chance. Thank you guys for listening to another week. We are into season 6 of Project Freelance. Thank you guys for keeping this show going. It's because of listeners like you that this is happening. And it's because I am fortunate enough to have this network of people and friends of friends who I can reach out to, who are down to be a part of this podcast. It is super cool to have something like this where I can connect with artists and creators and share their stories on this platform. So thank you guys for listening. And if you guys are looking for a coffee table book, if you're looking for a gift for somebody, if you got a gift card for Christmas and you want to get a little something and support your girl, I have a book out called No Tracers, an Urban Explorer's Diary. It is full of photographs and diary entries from the urban exploration trips that I have been on into a bunch of abandoned places all over America and a couple international places. Thank you guys for picking one of those up. If you want one, you can go to justtheletterk.com/notracers. All the links will be down in the description. All of Andy's links will be down in the description. And I will talk to you guys next week on Project Freelance. Hit that subscribe button if you're new so that you don't miss an episode. They come out every Monday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, just in time for your Monday morning commute to work. Thank you guys. Stay strong, keep enduring, go out and go create something.